Hello, YouTube. I'm just doing a quick follow-up on the whole Candid situation. And if you're not aware, Candid is a social media app that has generated some controversy after several YouTubers in the quote-unquote anti-SJW community made sponsored content videos promoting this app, and then Harmful Opinions, another YouTuber, started to raise some concerns about the way that app works, specifically the AI, and whether it's going to be censoring legitimate content or, doing other nefarious things. And the reactions to that criticism by Harmful Opinions were not particularly great. In my last video, I pointed out specifically Mundane Matt and Shuan Head and how they responded and how it wasn't the best way they could have done so. So, just a few minutes ago, a live stream ended between Bindu Reddy, I believe her name is, and Bering. And Bering is another one of these YouTubers who made a sponsored video. And there's quite a bit of interesting things that came out of that live stream. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but there is one particular part of the live stream that I think is worth noting. I'm going to play it for you right now.
Right, so the first one is from Harmful Opinions, and he asks, are the YouTubers you had signed contracts with you allowed to say whatever they want? Will there be any consequences? Will you go after them?
Thanks, Harmful Opinions, for that question. Yes, the way this works is YouTubers we work with do have agreements with us, and most of the time they're allowed to say whatever they want on their YouTube channels. The agreements really typically cover the sponsored video, and as well as they're even in the sponsored video, they're actually allowed to say more or less whatever they want. We try to be pretty open, and we try to give creative control to most of our YouTubers because that's the point. I think Bering and Patrick has done one. We do have a document which gives you some high-level guidelines about
Bindu, I think you mentioned that before, but you just partially doxed me. Thanks for that.
I doxed you?
I'm manager. You said my first name. Nobody knows my first name, but that's all right. Let's
I'm
continue.
so sorry. I'll stick to Bering. I am so sorry. So yes, Bering. We do give people some high-level talking points. We do want them to be as creative as possible, and yeah, they are allowed to pretty much say whatever they want. Right. There is also, I mean, if the question is there any kind of non-disparagement clause against Candid? Yes, there is also a non-disparagement clause against Candid. I'd have to look exactly into the agreement to tell you, how long it is for, but I think it's for some period of time. I don't think it's forever. For what?
For 2 years. Yeah, and just as a side note, in order to be able to approach this stream impartially, we've waived that non-disparagement clause in my contract for the duration of this stream, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
So it turns out these YouTubers who made these sponsored videos are not allowed to be critical of this app. They signed a 2-year non-disparagement agreement, and this is confirmed by Bering, who is one of the people who signed one of these agreements. And it is obviously strict enough that it's not just you can't be overly aggressive and hateful towards it, because otherwise then Bering wouldn't have had to waive it for the stream. It means I assume it means that you're not allowed to say anything negative about it. You're not allowed to make a video being critical of Candid. And what this tells me is that we as a community should be very disappointed by these people who sign this agreement. Because if you're someone who is a skeptic, if you're someone who as your job is critical of things, and you sign an agreement with a company that you obviously don't know everything about, that you're not an expert on, and you agree to not be critical of them for 2 years? I mean, what if Candid were to become the next Twitter or Facebook? And that can happen very quickly. And then what if it was this awful, awful thing, and you wouldn't be able to say anything negative about it for 2 years? That's a long time, especially when it comes to things like social media and YouTube. So I really have to ask, what were these people thinking? And beyond that, when negative things started to come out about Candid and they were in a position where they had to defend themselves, why wasn't the first thing they said, well, guys, I see that there's some legitimate criticism of this app, but I can't comment on it because as part of my agreement to do a sponsored ad, I can't make any negative comments. I think people would have respected that. Maybe there would have been some criticism of why would you sign such a thing, but at least it would have been, okay, yes, you're being honest, you're being open with us, we understand. Some of us would have understood and said, okay, well, we just won't look to you for critical content. We won't just listen to you at all about this app. You just shouldn't talk about it. You can't say anything negative, don't say anything at all, right? So that's just my thoughts about this situation. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more that comes out from this live stream. I look forward to Harmful Opinions next video on the topic. But for now, I'm Positive Improvement, and I wish you all the best.